1. Thank goodness I remember what I'm supposed to say. This is live with Miami's Community News. And our guest today is Frances Reaves. She's an Esquire, an attorney, all right? Congratulations on managing to get through that. But you know, you've been writing for us for a while. Your columns have appeared in community newspapers, and you talk about seniors and where we're at. I do. And I know you're working on your book. Right?
Yes, I am.
The 2-minute warning.
2-minute warning.
What is the 2-minute warning? Like at the football game, you got 2 minutes left, guys, and you better hurry up and do the things you want.
Better hurry it up.
All right.
Gotta live your life the best you can.
Okay. Now we're going to talk a little bit about the aging, and let's talk about the big elephant in the room is the age of one of the, or both candidates, right?
Both candidates for president.
Right. So Donald Trump is how old?
He will be he's 73 right now. He'll be 74 on Inauguration Day.
Okay. And then Joe Biden is how old?
Joe Biden is 77 right now, and he will be 78 on Inauguration Day.
Can you tell? I know you have some notes over here.
I have my cheat
So tell
sheet.
us some of the ages of some of the political figures.
This is why I wrote this article. It was just so interesting to me. This year, after, 8 times 3, after 24 years of boomer presidents, all of a sudden we went to the silent generation, or the greatest generation. You had Elizabeth Warren, who is 70, Michael Bloomberg, who was in the race briefly, was 77. Bernie Sanders was 78, had a heart attack. And you'll remember, Michael, at the end of his primary run, he made the most money in that last quarter.
So people that were half his age plus donated because of his belief system.
Right.
Right? So there are lots of followers in there, okay?
Yes.
As there were for the guy that's in office now, the 70 plus, all right? People are supporting that, and also for Joe Biden. Who are some other people?
Some other people, we've just discussed some of them. Some of your fighters.
Okay, George Foreman, by the way, there's a picture of Muhammad Ali over there. George Foreman, his last fight, he was 48 years old. All right?
Wow.
48. Now, here's something that's really neat. Mike Tyson's going to fight. Tommy, when's that fight going to be? Pretty soon. And he is, end of the month, he is 52 years old, man. Going to go, and he's going to give it the old good shot. So it really is amazing. I have a friend. He works 7 days a week, all right? He lives in this beautiful house. He's 84. And he is in the construction arena, all right, every day. He says, Michael, this is why I'm still alive.
Well, you know what Clint Eastwood says. Clint turned 90 this year, and he was playing golf with a buddy, and you know, he's getting ready to turn 88, 89, 90, and the guy says, what's your secret? He goes, I get up every morning and I don't let the old man in.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to talk to it back there.
You do, and that's the whole, what's this?
Hey, you got an article that's appearing in community newspapers. What's the title of that? Your headline there.
Centenarians.
Right.
People over 100.
All right. And they got it, and they have great stories to tell.
They do.
Right. Sometimes when you're young, you don't want to hear the story, but you really do.
You do.
You want to hear some history, and you want to be able to see that, because as you get older, you know, you look back, like 30 years was like yesterday.
I know.
Right.
Well, I sort of divide our lives into 30 years. Remember, 1 through 30, you're just trying to find your way, right? 30 through 60, you know, I mean, this is when community news, that was your life. And now, look at you, Mike. You're just having fun. You're sitting around interviewing everybody, reading my articles.
Yes, I'm reading that every day. You can read that at communitynewspapers.com. So one of the things that we recognized back when, pre-COVID, or right before COVID and then right after, is that we wanted to be able to continue communicating with people,
right?
To share people like yourself with our readers and our viewers. And it's really extraordinary how people have a thirst for this.
Yeah.
All right? Because they like this. All right, and we really enjoy doing this. And I don't know if you were here. I get to tell this story. Rabbi Yossi Harlick was here. He's with the Chabad of Kendall.
Yeah, down in Kendall, sure.
Yeah, Kendall and Pinecrest. He sat right there last week, and he said, Michael, I want you to know I got a call from somebody I know in Michigan. He wished me a happy birthday, even though my birthday was 2 months before. And he said, I saw you on that interview. I'm sending you a donation of $5,000. What a thrill. One, for the guy to give it, two, that we were part of it, and 2, that he received it and now is able to share that.
Well, and look, anybody here, if you want to be an angel investor in your parents, please call Michael.
Yes. So let's talk about just slightly. We're going to get on who's on the cover there.
Oh, that's okay. We can do that next time.
No, we can do it here a little bit. But let's talk about some of the things as you get a little bit older, some of the things that you need to take care of so that your children won't have to do that. All right. But I do want to say, when COVID first came to visit everybody, I told everybody here, make sure that your spouse has your insurance. Make sure you pay it, because you just never know when it's going to happen.
That's right.
So
you don't need COVID for that.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's correct. That was the harsh reminder that some people, by the way, we have glass in between here again, and everybody, we take their temperatures. How was your temperature today?
Temperature was great.
Hot, baby! H-O-T!
But they let me in anyway.
Okay. So when we look around and we look at a lot of the politicians, yes, there's young people, but there's people through all ages that are there that are able to participate. And there's this old story about the young Turk stud that he runs to, the story.
Oh, yeah.
And the older guy's going, listen, I need to save my energy, but there are a lot out there. You're going to be tired, all right? So there's a certain wisdom that goes along with it, a certain calmness.
Well, I think that is what we have to celebrate. I mean, I just notice in myself, I don't get nearly as upset or angry with people when they slight me or are late or cancel at the last minute. It's like, okay, you're the one missing it.
So has it been a gradual thing? Would you say, gee, when I turned a certain age, I started feeling that way, that I wasn't going to let it upset me?
Well, I think no, because, I mean, is it gradual for me? I can speak on a personal basis that for me, it is somewhat gradual, but it's from an awareness of who I am. And I think a lot of that is confidence. In other words, the more confidence you have, then I think it's a little easier to say, okay, yeah, whatever. If you're 15 minutes late, I can find something to do. And that is really one of the messages I want to give to all the boomers. We're not calling them baby boomers because we've grown up now. So we're just boomers because I'm getting rid of the word senior. We're just boomers now. And the bottom line is, there's no reason why we shouldn't just be having fun. There's no reason not to have fun. And look, I grew up, it's not like I was raised in a wealthy family. I put myself through law school. I had to do, and I was this woman who, was often in a man's job, and I had to sort of deal with all of that. But my goodness, you know what that gives me? Wisdom and experience. So when people ask me questions and then they say, wow, you really spoke out. Yeah, of course I spoke out. I always speak out.
In this political season where people are speaking out, one of the things to remember that whoever the candidates are, whether it's local or national, every other person likes the other guy. It's just the way it is. And it's all okay. So when you're pointing the finger, just point to the one here and here and here. You're part of that. And it's like, I tell people, I go, really, in your life, in your daily life and your families, what difference did it make for you who's there? Whoever, whether it's the city commissioner or zoning. So just everybody be calm and everybody be cool, right? And we go back to work and go back to your families. And speaking of confidence, the people of Miami-Dade County elected their first woman mayor. My congratulations.
I voted for her. Right. I voted for her.
So my congratulations to Daniela Levine Cava for that. An extraordinary moment for women.
Yes.
Right? And it wasn't too long ago that you had to be, whether it was in Washington or in Tallahassee or down here, you had to be this white guy.
Yeah.
Right? This middle-aged white guy.
Right.
And the longer I'm alive, the more I realize that as much as I want to think that I worked hard and struggled, there are certain advantages of being a white man in this century right now. There's things that we get inherently that other people have to work hard for. We do a Saturday show, it's called Race to the Top, it's for people of color. and it doesn't matter what color, other than this color.
Right.
And then it's extraordinary where these women will grow into super women. All right, most of them are pretty young.
Right.
And then as they get a little older, the older could be 35 or 40. The wisdom that they have, right?
Yeah.
The youngsters should listen to that. Tell us about the book you have there.
Oh no, this is a boring book.
Okay.
I mean, this is. I brought this book because it's what I don't like when we talk about elders, and I mean, I don't want to read this sort of thing. Here's what it's called: Preparing for a Better End. Subtitle is Expert Lessons on Death and Dying for You and Your Loved Ones. Now, if you saw this on a bookshelf, would you pick it up? I mean, to be an expert on death and dying, don't you have to be dead and then come back? So that's why I brought it, because this is a sort of thing that's offered so often to boomers today versus the 2-minute warning, baby, how to live that life.
And by the way, if you a lot of games, all right, I see with basketball, just give everybody 100 points. You got 2 minutes. Go for it.
Yeah.
And if you look to games, football games, baseball games, and how many points frequently
Happened in the ninth inning.
Yes, and it's just like, what happened? I don't know. You said, well, other team got tired. Well, the other team's also tired. Right?
Yeah.
You all are out there. So there's something that happens to our spirit when we have this finite deadline, which is you got 2 minutes. Sometimes we'll be watching the game. We're waiting for 60 minutes to come out, and I said, there's 5 minutes left in the game. That's 25 minutes by the time it gets done.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly it. And you have to take control of that. That's why, as we were discussing briefly, or maybe I was discussing it with Tommy, what you have to do so that your kids don't have to worry. And it's 3 little things: the durable power of attorney, that health surrogacy. And this isn't stuff in case you die. This isn't stuff in case you're in a car accident, in case you're knocked unconscious, and then either a trust or a will, depending on your financial state.
I think a lot of people, and include myself, they say, okay, I'm going to live to X age, and it'll be from a disease. You don't think about, and a long disease where it's a long time to kill me. Right?
Yeah.
But you bring up a really good point. It could be a car accident.
It can.
It could be the COVID. Some people get it in 2 weeks later.
Or
Right?
days, because of their underlying.
Yes. So I think that part of this is that the documents that somebody needs, why should somebody do that when they're of sound mind, if you will?
Well, because once you're not of sound mind, you can't do it. Everything's up for grabs at that point. I think it's a little like carrying an umbrella out into the rain. If 9 times out of 10, if you carry an umbrella when they say it's going to rain, it doesn't rain. I don't know why that is, but that's the way it is. So I say 9 times out of 10, if you have all your paperwork in order, you're not going to die. And that's what everybody's always worried about. Oh, I'm going to die, I'm going to die. Well, guess what? If you get your paperwork in order, you're not going to die.
So
Tomorrow.
From a personal experience, my father was healthy. He had a stroke, and his girlfriend went and had him make up, and he didn't die there, but in the bed 24 hours after the stroke.
Oh, she had him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I went, look at that.
Yeah.
Right?
No, it's all about.
I can't say it took 10 years, but I'll bet 5 or 6 or 7 to go do that whole cycle. She was holding up this, and I'm holding up this. I said, oh my goodness, look at that.
Listen, I had that happen to a really good friend of mine. He knew his days were done, and he married the woman who had been his companion for the last 5 or 6 years. And then, as part of the prenup, said that when he died, she would get $15 million. And so he died. He was one of the wealthiest men in Baltimore, hundreds of millions, if not a billionaire. Honestly, I don't know. It was a private family. But an attorney went after her equitable share. An equitable share, I think I discussed this last time, is 33%. If you're written out of the will and you're married, you get 33% of that will. And of course, she wasn't in the will. And I happen to also know the attorney. and he's an excellent lawyer. But the truth of the matter is, he knew that she had waived that in the prenup, as did I in my prenup. In other words, I inherit nothing under the will unless he specifically puts it in there. So I gave up my equitable share. And so I made him do a new will.
The way to do it. Oh, Amy Livergood says hello. All right. Wilma Silva, Mary Tarifa, Eric, can't pronounce your last name, Eric, and Ms. Fonseca, thank you. Hey, folks, feel free to share this and write in your comments if you don't mind. And also, we're going to be replaying this later today. All right, so people need to the things they need to have so that they are at peace.
Right.
Are, what are the couple things?
The DPOA,
What is
durable power of attorney,
Okay.
healthcare surrogacy. And you know, healthcare surrogacy, here are two examples of healthcare surrogacy. You remember Terry Schiavo,
Yes.
right? Took her years to die because husband and parents disagreed with what should happen to her. And with Luke Perry, who had a wife and then a family beforehand, everything was in order. The entire family was there when they turned it off, crying together. His first wife, his second wife, all the kids, anybody who was important was there. And what a difference it made to them. You know, there's no animosity. It's all about just, we love this man.
So let's talk about Terry. How do you pronounce her last name?
Schiavo is how I do it, but some people say Schiavo. So
So
one or
she
the
was either North Dade or Broward County.
Right.
She was in a coma for how long? Many years.
years. Well, they were getting ready to unplug her, and then her parents told the husband, no, that's not how she wanted to die. And so it went through the courts.
It was years.
Years, yeah. And remember, the president of the Senate got involved.
Yes.
President Bush II got involved. I mean, it was so ridiculous.
By the way, how old was President Bush Sr.?
When he left office?
Yes.
When he left office, he was under 78, which is what, if Biden goes, he'll be 78. I think he was like a little over 74 if Donald Trump is
So let's get back.
inaugurated.
So here's this lady, and the family wound up getting a lot of donations for her care. And the poor mother, it was 10 or 15 years.
Well, it was closer to 10, I think.
Okay.
But here's what we don't see. We don't see this shriveled up, fetal positioned
Yes.
person. I mean, is that even nice? Is that nice to the person? Is that how you want your family to remember you?
Yes.
I had a girlfriend who, when she died of cancer, when she knew it was the last time she was going back in, she chose to die in the hospital so that her kids wouldn't have to remember her in the house. And she didn't let any of us go see her. We went to see her right before she died because her brother allowed us to go. And I understand that because she was in a fetal position, you know, hospice, very much just breathing, taking her last few breaths. I don't want someone seeing me
So
that
Jack
way.
Kevorkian, 25 years ago, he was the one that sort of brought out of the closet, if you will, about
Assisted suicide.
assisted suicide.
What do you think about that, Mike?
Well,
Goal.
yeah, there you go. So that a lot of people don't know, though, if you are in a bad place in a hospital and the doctors withhold antibiotics and your body is infected, they're helping
You to
nature. They're helping you die.
Right.
I used to be a registered nurse in that.
You
know,
were?
Yeah, another lifetime
I
ago.
love you in that little white dress
Yeah, it
with
was
the
great.
hat.
Actually, the little hat, just for you, baby. Way to go, Tommy. Oh, gee. All right.
Yeah. Baby.
Yeah, it was something like that.
I
So-
was a doctor.
Is-
I'm sorry, go ahead.
That's okay. That's okay. So, and I would see things like that, and I remember saying to one of the supervisors, I said, I don't want to be part of that. And she says, you don't need to. It was one of my. And so when you see that, and at what point does your life is no longer functional, right?
Right.
And so I have this conversation with myself. Okay, you lose a toe from diabetes. Is that okay? Yep. Okay, you lose a foot. Right? Okay, you lose a leg. Okay, that's okay. Right? Lose 2 legs. That's okay.
Oh,
all right?
wow.
All right, and then I play this game. At what point do you go no mas? Right?
Yeah.
And there's a book that I read back then. It was in the '60s when Johnny Comes Marching Home, and it was about this fellow that lost both arms and both legs in the war, all right? And he couldn't speak, but he could hear. And it was this process of him getting treated at the hospital, right?
Wow.
And through the seasons, and he would recognize it. And then at one point, you know, it was a book.
Yeah.
Obviously, he didn't write it, but and at some point, the IVs.
Dictation was tough.
Yeah, the IVs were wrapped around his arm, and he's talking to himself. I just need to lean a little bit more, and it'll cut off, and I'll die. And the nurse said at Christmas time, "You can't do that. You're going to die." And so when you start reading that, and you start understanding, there's a point at which you say, "No more," right? And everybody's got a different place.
Right.
I think there's a whole place where we can all agree on. But the question is, when my father had the stroke, where is he no longer, all right?
Well,
And
the doctors, if you are not of sound mind, you cannot make the decision to kill yourself. Even though you had said when you were of sound mind, I'm going to let so and so and so and so and so and so let me die. You know, not a living will, but a suicide.
Yep.
I want to die then. You can't do that. In the United States, there's only one country you can do that in, or maybe two. I want to say like Switzerland, Sweden, and maybe Belgium, where you can choose to allow someone else to say, yes, she can have assisted suicide.
And you never know where you're going to learn. I remember this one young patient, he was in the rehab center. He had a molar removed, and the infection went right into his brain. And so when I got on the scene, I was a student. They had taken out a lot of his brain. And I remember like this was yesterday. And he was trying to eat. He had a spoon and the food, and he kept hitting his over here and over here. I said, the way Dan Marino does, you got to keep doing it over and over. And I'm going, when is it over?
Yeah.
When do you just say no mas, right?
Yeah.
So that's certainly, we want to make those things as clear as possible to our spouses and to our family.
We do. And, you know, according to Terry Schiavo's husband, that's what they had both decided. But, you know, and certainly my husband has said to me, you know, if I get to a point where I'm just jabbering away, I mean, he doesn't know where I'm going to put him, but he told me to give him a pill. So I'll let the nursing home do that for him.
So let's look at, you know, and we realize there's different stages of retiring. You have,
Right.
you know, 60 to 65, 65 to 70, you're still pretty good, maybe 75, and then all of a sudden, you know, you're not able to get around too much anymore. And
But there are plenty of, I always say that 80 is the new 60, more or less, you know. I'm sorry, that 80 is not so much the new 60, but when we think that, gosh, maybe I am old, right? Because, I mean, you and I don't think we're old.
no.
Exactly.
Tommy might think we're old, but we don't think that.
Kids might think we're old, but we don't think we're old. So but I have so many friends, I mean, true blue friends that I've had for 25 or 30 years. One is a very successful real estate agent, and she's 81. The other, another lady does all of the Feld Entertainment in Baltimore, and she's in her mid-80s. So, you know, I really do believe that this is sort of a mind over matter. I mean, do you have to sort of stay fit? Yes, you have to stay fit. Do you have to, as Clint Eastwood says, not let the old girl in or not let the old man in? Yes, you do. But you know, that also takes sort of a discipline about it. You can't, like I had another friend who's another beautiful, tall blonde, and she gave up during COVID. You know, she said, I just gained 30 pounds. And I'm thinking to myself, oh, there's a part of me that wishes I could do that. But then there's another part of me that realizes how expensive it would be for my wardrobe.
So one of the things we did around here, we know what 19 stands for, COVID-19. So we understand that. So now we brought in little pre-prepared food. It's 600 calories.
Oh.
And then you go, okay, this is it, right? This is it. Instead of this, well, I'll eat that on the way through. And the other day we did a political election night repertoire over here, and there was so much food, and it's easy to eat 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 calories.
Oh, very easy.
Yeah, and So getting back to the issue at hand, which is to get to a point to where whatever documents you need, because you're an attorney, you handle those type of things.
I do, yeah.
Is to get to a place where you've done it and you can feel comfortable about it, all right? Because it is awfully uncomfortable to say, gee, I want to do that. If somebody casually asks you, how do you get them to the point of, you really need to look at that?
Well,
tough question.
It is a tough question. Because you're facing your mortality, and I think for all of us, facing mortality is a must-do situation, because as many great poets and quoted people have said, death is part of life. On the other hand, a durable power of attorney isn't just for death. It's for anything. But you have to be careful with them, because the minute you sign it, whoever you've given that authority to can in fact start spending your money if they have that in hand.
My father lived after he had the stroke, and he
Right.
could get around, he could say a few words, but for 15 years.
There you
right?
go.
All right? And fortunately, he had blood relatives to pay for his things.
Yeah, that's.
I know you heard that. I want to, Lena Sierra, hi Lena, and Christina Rodriguez, hello there.
Hi, Christina.
Right. So people need to address this issue, not just for them, but also for their family, so that there can be some consensus.
Well, I think also for the family. I mean, we hear all the time. Last time we talked about the Joe Robbie family, who still doesn't talk, right? Because if you leave things in a mix, as Joe Robbie did, so that you didn't have a trust and estates attorney put it all for you. Not that he wasn't a smart man, but he was a real estate guy. You've left behind a bad legacy instead of a good legacy. It's a little like, and we're going to talk about him when we talk about sex and seniors. And I thought we'd do that in January or February. Start the year off right. But Nelson
I'm going to start to get primed up. Thank you.
Nelson Rockefeller, who was this great philanthropist from one of the most philanthropic families, one of the wealthiest families in the United States. He was a statesman, vice president of the United States, what is he remembered for? Dying with his mistress.
Yes. Yep.
And, is that the legacy you want? And I'm always having this argument with people, because it's like, well, how do you not do that? Well, you decide you're not going to do that.
What is that?
Oh, die there. By that, in other words, you have to stay fit. You can't just, you have to look, like in my case, pardon me, microphone. In my case, my mother lived till 88, my father lived till 94. So, I have a really good chance of living into my 90s. So I have to figure that out now. I mean, I have long-term care. I don't have children, and I'm planning to work until I'm 80 at least. But
Got a long time.
yeah. So, but nevertheless, you have to look, your father had this major stroke and survived 15 more years. What does that tell you, Michael? That tells you a lot about you.
Yes, and by the way, one of the great things is that although he couldn't say a lot, you knew what he was doing. He'd read a newspaper, he'd circle stuff, he'd hand it to. I would test him sometimes to see if he really knew, and he'd circle it over and over. I'd go, "This is great."
Yeah.
He used to say, "Money, money, 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 money." All the time.
Well,
But
there's a song from Cabaret.
Maybe.
Oh, no. It's from Evita. Money, 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 money. Oh, yeah, look. I forgot I'm a singer.
Okay. Joel Gray, right?
Yeah,
Money
yeah.
makes the world go round. So show us who's on the front of the AARP magazine here.
Lady.
Oh, Baby Bruce.
The boss.
The boss. I knew baby
boss.
something. Boss Bruce.
We're the baby boomers.
Okay.
He, too, is a boomer.
He looks great.
He does, doesn't he?
Yep.
His kids are all grown up. He's, I was, just because I knew I was going to come on today, I was thinking about Bruce and Paul McCartney. And both of those men, I don't know if Paul McCartney was married once before Linda. Bruce was married once before his,
That's
Patty. Patty
That's
Springsteen now, but it's No, Patty Smythe is married to the tennis player. She's her own rock. At any
Tommy's
rate,
our fact checker.
Mimi Rogers was its first. Yeah, Mimi Rogers was its first wife. Patty its second, and she traveled with him and was part of that band. She was her own creative person, and their marriage is still going strong. And the same thing happened with Linda McCartney and Paul McCartney. You know, she traveled with him. What? Siafa. See, I told you it wasn't Smith. Patti Smith is married to not Agassi, the bad boy of tennis. John McEnroe.
Wow. Do you play tennis?
I used to. My first husband was a tennis pro.
Okay, that's a surprise. And what sort of hobbies, sports did you do other than tennis?
Golf.
Golf?
I love golf. I don't play it enough now,
All right.
but
And there was something else you used to do?
well, I'm a runner now,
Okay.
but now I walk.
Okay.
Ballet.
Ballet.
The only 6'1" ballerina.
She's pretty tall. How does that work?
I know. With those, I don't know if anybody in this audience has ever seen Ed Villela, but he's like maybe 5'5". So if I'm 5'10", but if I go up on point, I'm probably 6 feet. So all of a sudden, a 5'5" guy has to catch me. I mean, we'd be lucky if he got a leg, right? But when you go, I'm a huge ballet fan, huge Miami City ballet fan. And when you go backstage and you see they're teeny tiny, those women are 5'1", 5'2".
And they go in those little shoes with the blocks at the end
Yeah,
of them?
those are the toe shoes.
So doesn't it hurt your toes?
Well, we pretend it doesn't.
But it does.
Or we take drugs.
Or
It
both.
does, but it's like everything, you get used to it. I mean, look at football players, look
Yep.
at basketball players. I mean, it's a sport. I mean, it's an art form. Talking about sports and art forms, no one is going to like this about me, but I used to be a bullfighting aficionado.
Really?
You know, yeah, I lived in Colombia, in Peru, and there we went to the bullfights. And I had the hat. I knew who El Cordobés was. Oh my gosh, he signed some things for me. I was all about it. I took bullfighting lessons. But everybody
With a live bull?
No, that's when it stopped. Even the little calves are really pretty big.
Yeah.
I thought, okay, this isn't for me. It's like car racing.
Without horns, do they run into
Yeah,
you?
yeah, but I mean, they're still 300 or 400 pounds. But everybody thinks bullfighting is a sport, but it really isn't.
What
It's
is
an
it?
art form because you know who's going to die in the end. The bull always dies, except with the exception in bullfighting of 3 or 4 bulls throughout the history of recent bullfighting. And I know they're getting rid of it, PETA, et cetera, et cetera. I understand.
Just so that I'm refreshed on it, where are they ultimately die? In the ring?
In the ring. It's the final, that's how the toreador, the bullfighter,
Say
is
that a couple times really fast.
You ready? You
Yes.
ready, baby?
Yeah.
Toreador. You want to say something, Tommy?
He's my conscience over. He's my conscience over there.
I can't even figure out how that Rockefeller thing, dying with his mistress, was a bad thing. Like, that's like the comment, like when Hugh Hefner died, oh, he's in a better place now. Not really.
I didn't know if I was allowed to say dying in the saddle on air.
On top of the bull.
Or on top of the bull. You know, the only time women die in sex, I've done this research,
Folks, listen up. You're about to find out something new. Here goes.
is when
Wherever we are.
the only time that's happened is when, like, they were on top of a mountain and rolled off. Talk about being into it, right? And I'm not sure they were seniors, so they didn't have the wisdom we did not to do it on top of a mountain.
Yes.
All of us know that.
So one of the great things, we got a couple minutes left. So the election cycle is all but over. All right, everybody can just calm down. All right, and everybody's, remember, we're all neighbors here.
Yeah.
Right, and just be cool. And in a couple of years, you can start up again. But in the meanwhile, if you got a lot of extra energy, take care of your stuff that you need to for yourself and your children. So all
Right.
this paperwork is in order because you never know what's going to happen. And with all the numbers of people that have died recently from COVID, and now that the elections are, we ought to be taking it pretty seriously
We should.
about planning for not just our future, but our family's future.
Well, and also, Michael, for instance, in my case, I don't have any children, so all my.
Will you adopt me?
You are cute. He's got a full head of hair.
And that did not come cheap, all right? But it's real. Does that mean your husband's bald?
No. But it's not as full a head of hair as mine. You know, one thing we're going to have to talk about is when you are married to someone with whom you've been married to for a long time, it's also really hard to watch them sort of wilt away, which happens often. I mean, that's what happened to Mom and Dad. I mean, mother was the one who went first, not Dad. So, but when we're planning, what we have to think about is not the right thing to do, not what everybody wants you to do, but what your legacy is. And you know what, Tommy, you're absolutely right. Nelson Rockefeller probably doesn't mind his legacy. Maybe Happy does, but Nelson doesn't. But and so if you want to give your money to, in my case, it's my undergraduate school, or, you know, I've done a little something for some of the nieces and nephews, but for the most part, I've endowed a scholarship for women. And because it was only for women, it had to go through a committee at my undergraduate school because I was being sexist. They're right, I was.
So I did want to share my grandmother, before she died, she sold all her stock so she could say, this is what you're getting. And this. So
Yeah.
it was just so simple.
It
for
was
her.
simple.
It was just that it's all done. Now that's it.
Yeah.
Right? And it was like extraordinary that she did that because she's a very quiet little old lady, maybe 4'10" or wherever that
Yeah.
is. Right? But she knew that, so to make it easy on herself and on the other people.
Yeah, and it's what she wanted to do.
Yes.
It made her feel good.
Yes.
And I know we're going to take this up in the months to come, but it's like having your very own Shiva. Sit at your own Shiva.
Yep.
You know, hear what everybody says about you, or your own celebration of life. I mean, why? I don't want everybody to talk nice about me and me not hear it.
Well, it's been 37 minutes so far. And
Wow.
Yes,
I'm sorry.
When you're having fun, it goes by fast. So again, people can read all about you in community newspapers.
Yes.
And you
Centurions
have columns
have stories.
Yes. And also, they can look you up and give you a call if they want.
Absolutely.
It's always a pleasure and a lot of fun.
A lot of your people do call me.
Oh,
and
good.
you know what?
What do
Thank
they call you?
all. They call me, hello? Are you Francis Reaves? But really, I've enjoyed talking to a lot of your clientele. They're all a little nervous and scared about what's happening next.
Yep.
So, and so, you know, I'm hoping that over the next few months we can go through some little secrets a lot of people don't know about, for good or for bad. So thank you, Michael. Thanks so much.
My pleasure. Listen, folks, whatever's going to happen with the COVID thing, stay safe. Hopefully there'll be a
Yes.
vaccine that whatever's going to happen there.
Right.
Stay safe. Take care of your family. Plan your future. If you want to give Frances Reaves a call, that would be great. She can walk you through-
ParentYourParents.com.
Yep. Oh, there you go. Parent your parents, okay? And your little brothers and sisters.
Yeah.
Okay. Folks, thanks for joining us again. Our guest today
Thank you.
is Frances Reaves,
Oh, look, I
Esquire.
have Hadassah arms.
Okay. She is like this all the time, folks. Hey, thanks very much for joining us.
Bye,
This is
guys.
Live with Miami's Community News. Have a great day.